Handoff from the shotgun. Not much doing there. He gets it to the 26, a gain of 1.
And you want to run the football. That's okay. You'll take some of these. But if they start to add up down the road, obviously, you might want to think about airing it out a little bit.
Didn't get much on first down. It's 2nd and 9. Pulls and fires it complete to the right. And just a short, safe pass play. They pick up a few.
Great play by the cornerback. He was just way too physical at the point of attack. He beat his man trying to block him, and he tackled that receiver on the screen.
So already they've hit a speed bump on this opening drive. It's 3rd and 8. Looking to throw, it's Lindsey. Grabbed over the middle, it's Coleman. Ripping off a pretty good chunk of yardage. They've got it out to the 41 with a first down.
Well, how about the defense? How about the respect level for this guy? Double team him, and what happens? He still wins. You think the offense is going to continue to feature this guy?
Wants to go up top on first down. Makes the grab on the left. Nice gain on that play, but a little bit short of the first down.
Well, the defense playing zone coverage there. They're taking away all of the QB's primary options down the field, so he has to check it down to the drag running underneath.
And the Golden Gophers can play this 2nd down a lot of ways with just a few yards to go. Keeping it on the ground with the running back. Dragged down at the 46 after a pickup of 5 and the first down.
And you know what? The best 3rd down offenses don't get the 3rd down. Really good job by the offense running the football. You could tell the defense got caught a little bit off guard. Got a nice gain, popped one, got a first down. Who needs 3rd downs if you can just pound it down their throat on 2nd down?
QB draw. And how about the work up front by that big defensive line?
Great team defense on that run play. Everybody doing their job. People winning their one-on-ones, D linemen staying in their gaps, linebackers and DBs filling. You just can't do it better.
Got stuffed on first down. It's 2nd and 10. From the gun, they'll try the middle. And they're able to shove him to the turf as they stop him for a short gain.
And, man, the big fellas up front, they don't get a lot of credit. They don't get talked about a lot unless it's negative, but they're the big component, man. They've got to get some push, to get some running lanes, get this running game going. They're the ones that make it go.
Here comes the 7th play of this opening drive. They've moved it well, but now facing 3rd down. Dropping back, it's Lindsey. That pass not close as he got drilled trying to deliver it, and it'll bring up 4th down. The Golden Gophers will call on their punt team. First punt of the day, and he'd love to lock them up close to their goal line. Punt is on its way. Coverage was all over him before he had a chance to breathe, and they knock him down deep in his own territory. This offense is stuck way back in its own end of the field. They'll try the run. Hard running there. Finds a little bit of room. Picks up 4 out to the 3rd. team.
And I kind of like how the running back didn't mess around. Like, just get downhill when you see an opening. A lot of times they close so fast, man. Be decisive, stick your foot in the ground, pick up 3 to 4, and we are not going to complain.
After the productive first down play, it's 2nd and 6. Back to pass. Caught close to the marker, it's McCray. Coming out, attacking from deep in their own end, and they're out at the 26 with the first down.
That's a first down for the offense.
Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs. To the air, it's Childs. Somehow got the screen into that traffic. Tackled almost immediately. They're well short of the first down.
I don't know if that's the coverage you want to be throwing wide receiver screens against. Oftentimes, you want the receivers to have some access. You want the DBs to be off a couple yards so you can help set up the blocks and give the receivers somewhere to go with it. It's hard to run that against press coverage, and they only picked up a few yards there.
Try to make up for some of that lost ground on 2nd down. From the gun, the give, looking for room. He showed off the stiff arm, but apparently he needed a couple more. A lot of defenders around to stop him.
And these RPOs always put the defense in a bind. But listen, you give up the run, they get a short little gain, no harm, no foul.
Ball's at the 29. Defense can taste getting off the field. It's 3rd and long. From the gun, wants to pass. Grabbed in the middle. It's Bellick. They'll make the stop about a yard short of the first down. The Spartans will line up to punt it away. They'll have to boot it away for the first time tonight. Probably not quite as good as he hoped as it goes out of bounds at the 20-yard line. They'll snap it from the 20 for the opening play of this drive. They'll start this drive going to the air. With the catch, it's Tracy. Caught, and he's close to a first down on the nice pickup there.
Quarterbacks love the short passing game early in games because it really helps them get into a rhythm. So nice job by the offensive coordinator, giving his quarterback an easy throw, something he can see, and something that he knows he can complete.
And he fights his way forward, gets away from one, but not much doing on that one.
It's an offense that takes pride in being physical. They try to get it going on the ground, but no gain on that one.
Just nowhere to run, not a lot of wiggle room for the ball carrier.
This defense came in knowing that they had to match their physicality. Let's see if they can keep it up.
And the Golden Gophers come to the line on 3rd and short, trying to convert here. Looking downfield, it's Lindsey. And it's incomplete on 3rd down.
Defense did a great job. 3rd and short on the opponent's side of the field. They're expecting quick throw. Everybody, they dug their heel on the ground. They're able to break on the ball and force the incompletion.
Now on the return. Play of this drive will start from the 31-yard line. Going right to work up top. Pass rush, gets there, gets home, gets him down at the 23.
Oh, That's a missed opportunity. You know the quarterback was excited. He saw man coverage. He thought he was going to have an opportunity to come up with a big play, but up front they could not protect him well enough.
Wants to go up top. Looking to the big tight end. It's caught. Ripping off a pretty good chunk of yardage. They've got it out to the 41 with a first down. The Spartans very efficient with this passing game.
You like that, Reese? You like that? I think so. This is an offense that, listen, when you've got a guy back there that can be efficient. Make no mistake, they're going to run the football, but when you get that Kirk Cousins, guys, you start to really...
And he reels it in inside the 30. And this defense was flailing as he weaved his way and got down to the 26.
Well, Reese, you and I were talking about this before the game. How is this defense going to be able to deal with all the speed they have offensively? You saw them just rip off a big play.
And, Jesse, now their head's spinning just a little bit. Give up a big chunk play, and it's right back at them. The give from the gun. Turning it on. Picks up the first down, still moving. And he's brought down after a nice gain.
And that's a first down for the offense.
Sometimes you see the offenses sort of settle in, find areas to probe after that first quarter. First play of the period, first down here. On the move. And he'll race it to the house. Touchdown, Michigan State.
Can't start a game any better than that. Defense gets the stop, gives it back to the offense. You march down the field, you score. They are in a great rhythm now on both sides of the ball.
Setting up for the extra point after the first score of the game. And the extra point is good, and it's 7-0. A very efficient 5-play scoring drive. And the capper on that drive, the 10-yard touchdown run. They're coming out to tee it up for the kickoff, and that last score was a real buzzkill for this crowd. And it'll be a touchback. The ball will come out to the 25-yard line. They'll put this one in play. First snap of the drive from the 25. To the air, it's Lindsey. Makes the catch, it's Turner. At midfield, he's got room. A lot of room to the right. Touchdown, Minnesota! He found some open space and turned on the Jets.
Man, how hard is it to defend when you have a weapon like this at running back that can play wide receiver? You can design ways to get the football in his hand. Palmer, once you get it in his hands, he'll do the rest.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and oftentimes those are easier throws for quarterbacks. And these running backs, they're just naturally so good when they have the football out in space. Their vision, their creativity, their ability to make people miss. And this guy showed you right there, a difficult guy to stop now if you're this defense moving forward.
Drive starts from their own 25-yard line. They'll move the wide receiver. To the air on first down. Out of the backfield, he's open.
One of the things you love about this running back is not only can he run between the tackles, but he's also a weapon in this offense, catching the football.
Spartans can really attack on this second and short. Handoff from the gun. Oh, he's got some space. Smashes through the tackle. And they're getting it rolling with that play to the 42-yard line.
How nice is it in an offense when you can generate explosive plays by running the football? You got to force feed this guy, man. He is an absolute game changer.
The Spartans just got that huge run. They'd love another explosive play. Looking to pass. It's Childs. Snagged in the middle. It's Belly. They'll finally get him on the ground, but not before he makes it to the 30 and gets a first down.
Right, second quarter, getting closer to the half. Offense is still having a lot of success stringing some first downs together. Defense is going to need to figure something out before they get to halftime.
Pulls and throws off the RPO. And he'll run across the sidelines after the good gain.
The thing I like about this slot receiver, he's really intentional in his route run. The quarterback always knows exactly where he's going to be on the field. They've got great chemistry together.
And the Spartans with myriad options after that big pickup on first down. From the gun, the ground game. Brought down after keeping those powerful legs moving, getting all he could. He'll be a few inches short.
That's why it's so important to have success on first and second down. They're running the ball on second down. You trust your O-line to get the job done. The running back does his. And now, with the positive play, you're setting up third and inches.
The Spartans come to the line trying to find a way to convert on third and very short. Leaves it with the back. Picks up enough to give them first and 10 from the 13.
Basic run plays. I don't need a bunch of complicated stuff sometimes. I just need to get the first down and get the sticks moving.
And the Spartans back to the line on first down. Let's see if they keep leaning on this running game. Back to pass, it's Childs. Using the quick game. They'll get it down to the 8-yard line on that throw and catch, and the defense is backed up against the wall.
This quarterback right now is in a groove, and he's doing a nice job in pre-snap. He's reading the coverage, and he's getting an idea of where he wants to go with the football. That's why the ball's coming out of his hands so quickly. That's why he seems like he's in a great rhythm right now.
Operating in the red zone here on second down. Looking to fire. And that's going to fall to the ground incomplete. That was a physical matchup there. Third down coming.
Not many receivers like to get hit. They just don't, okay? They're prima donnas. That's what they are. That's who they are. Nice job by the defender. You could tell he was catching the football. He was going to put a hit on him to make sure he had to think about something later, and you could see the ball pop out and fall to the ground.
Third down play from the gun. Lets it go to the end zone. Touchdown, Sparty. They get it into the end zone to pay off that opportunity. They'll try to add another to their lead. And the PAT makes it 14-6. So they put together a 9-play, 75-yard drive. And they finish things off with an 8-yard toss for the score. Kickoff unit on the field, and this defense will be called on to protect this lead. The kickoff bounces through the end zone. They'll bring it out to the 25. They'll put this one in play. First snap of the drive from the 25. Timeout called by the defense. It's their first of the half as they'll make some adjustments. Going with the ground game left. Shakes off the defender. Forges ahead. Picks up about 3 to the 29.
And sticking to the run. I tell you what, a lot of teams that are really good are really stubborn, and they continue to run the football even with little success. So this offense is going to continue to focus on running the football. You can tell.
Solid pickup of 4 on first down. It's 2nd and 6. Scanning the field, it's Lindsey. He wants to go deep. Makes the grab down the middle. Finds some room. Touchdown, Golden Gophers! And once he found open space, the band might as well start playing.
If I'm a play caller nowadays, man, I want more guys like this. Just versatility. You can see he can catch it out of the backfield like a wide receiver, or he can run it. Nice job catching the football with his hands, using his speed to do the rest and get into the end zone.
After the touchdown, if they can get this too, we'll have a tie ball game. He's looking to throw. He's got it for the 2, and we're all tied up. They wasted no time on that drive. Got it on their 25, and 2 plays later, they're in the end zone. Bounces through the end zone. It's a touchback. They'll bring it out to the 25. Drive starts from their own 25-yard line. From the gun, they'll try to impose their will. A collision, and he's stopped at the 27 after pick.
Run game is good. Balance is good. Now listen, if the run game isn't good, then you got to pass the football a little bit more. But sometimes you got to keep them honest, take them chunk by chunk.
Picked up 2 yards on that last one. They need 8 on 2nd down. They'll give it to the back. Runs through a tackle. Is that stiff arm even a human arm? It looks like some type of steel bludgeoning device on his way to a first down.
Love the push by the offensive line on that RPO play. Look how they just work the single teams and the double teams. You see linemen chipping off of their guys and climbing into the second level and getting a hat on the linebacker. That's why those types of plays are successful.
Zings it complete to the right. And the defense settled in to stop that one for a short gain. They were able to make the completion, but he had to pick his way for just a little bit. Needed a little more help to spring him for some yardage.
Yeah, if you're going to have success when you throw it outside like that, you're going to need some more blocking and better blocking downfield. Give the defense credit, though. They were able to rally and made a tackle.
Looking downfield, it's Childs. What a job to lay out and make the catch.
Really nice job on that throw, just giving his guy an opportunity to catch the ball. It kind of reminds me about Bill Burke, a guy I played against back in the Citrus Bowl when I was playing. He was throwing to Plaxico Burress, and he just kept putting the football in Plax's range, and we just couldn't stop the two of them.
He's looking deep. Oh, he had it. The deep ball was there, and it just trickled through his fingers.
Well, they hooked up already once for a score today, so the quarterback's going back to him again deep down the field, but it falls incomplete.
Plenty of work to do here on 2nd and long. He'll do it himself. Fights off a defender. He won't have time to run another play, and we will take it to the 2-minute timeout. The Spartans come to the line with a new set of downs. Back in motion, try to clear the picture. Looking to throw on first down. Got the quick pass. He's brought down quickly. Minimal gain there. Still a bit short of the first down.
Well, there's an example of the quarterback just creating on the fly, because I think that was supposed to go to the running back on a screen, and he just saw an open guy downfield and said, I don't know, I'm just going to throw it down to this dude. He's wide open. I know it's not how we drew it up, but we'll take it.
Line getting set on second down. Back to pass. Just a short pass to the tight end. They bring him down, but not before he's able to pick up the first down.
Really nice job there by the quarterback understanding it's blitz, and not just that it's blitz, but knowing whether it's man coverage or zone coverage behind the blitz. You've still got to know where your answer is going to be based on what the defense is doing in the back end, and he add the answer to the test right there.
Back to pass, it's Childs. Firing to the right, complete. And the defense makes the immediate tackle, but he has enough for the first down. They wanted to get the ball to the tight end, and they've already done it 5 times, and we're not even to the half.
I'm about to say mission accomplished. Yeah, that's what they want to do. Take advantage of the matchup, right? Zone or man, I like my big fella. I like using the tight end all I can. Great job working him into the offense. He's a playmaker. Find him.
Timeout called here by the defense. It's their first of the half. Going to work on second down, and the red zone is still some ground to cover to pick up that first down. Looking to go up top, and time's running out in the half. Quickly complete. That throw and catch gets them down to the 6, and the defense is running out of answers. Throw him to the spot, and that's exactly what he did to pick up the first down.
And that's so many hours of doing this together. You know exactly when he's going to break on that out route. You know what kind of speed he has because you've thrown it so many times. Nice rhythm and timing, and you could tell that was experience between receiver and quarterback.
And this one will be stopped for no gain. The defense going to stop the clock with a timeout. They want to make sure they have everybody on the same page.
And the defense, man, playing aggressive, playing uphill, playing in the backfield. Nice job getting penetration, getting that pass before it really even gets started. Nowhere to go, nowhere to run. Nice job by the defense.
And the D deny them on second and goal. Wants to throw. He's working against the clock. Finds his man. Timeout is called, and it's the defense wanting to make sure that everyone's on the same page for this big down. Now 3rd and goal, and tough yardage to cover here. Oh, he'll keep it on the draw. And he waltzes in for the score. Touchdown, Spartans!
And the offense breaks the tie, takes the lead, gains some momentum. How big is this, Palmer, now? Going into the half with the lead, with the momentum.
Well, they break the tie, but they also break their confidence a little bit now. The opponent now has to go into the locker room probably down, and they're wondering, what adjustments do we have to make? What do we have to fix? Because we've got our work cut out for us in this game.
And no chance at a return here. They'll start this drive at their own 25. They'll put this one in play. First snap of the drive from the 25. Quick timeout by the defense there, trying to make sure everyone has the same call. Wideouts, no backs. Back to throw, it's Lindsey. Gonna take a shot. intercepted. Big play stops the drive. Delivers the stiff arm. And they capitalize not only on the pick, but the great return to give the offense tremendous field position.
And I like the aggressiveness. I understand you're down, right before the half. You want to go get some points, but you can't turn the football over here. Now you've set the other team up in a position to maybe get more points as the first half's winding down.
Motion from the back. Trying to start the drive with a pass. The screen, he can go inside the 35. And this defense is a half a beat behind. They just can't quite keep up. They've got it down to the 21.
On the play. First down for the offense.
The offense burns its third and final timeout of the half.
Timeout, Michigan State.
Waning seconds of the first half, and they'll try to tack on a 3 before they head to the locker room. That is no good. And the margin remains at 7 after the miss. And that'll bring us to the end of the first half as we head to the studio for halftime. The Golden Gophers will boot it away to start the second half. And it'll come out to the 25. No attempt at a return. The drive starts from their own 25-yard line. Knew where he wanted to go with it, but couldn't find his target. It's incomplete.
Well, it's a nice job by the quarterback getting the ball out of his hands quickly on that RPO. He saw something he liked, just not on the same page with his receiver.
After the incompletion, it's 2nd and 10 from their own 25. Wants to throw. It's Childs. Fires to the big fella. He'll get it across the 30-yard line. They'll mark him out of bounds at the 32 as this offense is trying to do some work.
Well, you hear all the time that the tight end's the QB's best friend. You saw a perfect example of it on that last play, right? 2nd down, you need to pick up some positive yards to keep this 3rd down manageable. Really nice job of executing that.
And the Spartans are at the line looking to convert on 3rd and short. Wants to throw on 3rd down. Flips it out to the back. And he's down at the 41. That's a first down.
And this is why checkdowns are so big. There's a lot of quarterbacks in these types of situations on 3rd down. They just want to make the home run, highlight type throw. But a nice job being poised and making a good decision, checking it down to the running back here to help your offense out.
The Spartans will line it up on 1st and 10. Going up top again. Quickly complete. Finds enough room to get it up to the 44 before he's knocked out of bounds.
Well, you can tell those two have been practicing the out route all off season long. They look like they could have completed that in their sleep.
A little bit more to go after that last completion. They'll try to pick it up on 2nd down. Trying play action. Going deep. And it slips through his fingers. Incomplete. That would have been a huge gain if he could have held on.
And the big tight end, a lot of times that's a bigger strike zone, a bigger dude, and you could tell they put the hit on him, and that ball came out, and it came to the turf. Nice job playing physical by this defense.
And it's on 3rd downs like this. If you want to attack the middle of the field, you got to look for the tight end. Really nice route. Great job looking that football in. You can tell this quarterback really has a lot of confidence when he's in the pocket looking for the big fella, and they're able to hook up there.
Wants to throw on first down off the play fake. Complete to the right. And he's marked down right there, but a good pickup, and it'll be a first down. This guy fits that Spartan quarterback mold, a guy who makes plays, a Jeff Smoker, a Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, a guy that you can depend on. You got to find that guy that can complement who you are and what you are, and so you can get a lot of the fans going, go green, go white. Find the complement at quarterback to this offense.
It's now 1st and 10 from the 24-yard line. Rides the back on the option, the give. Breaks into the open. He'll be pulled down after a good run. They'll mark it at the 15.
That's a big key for this offense. Now, you've got the lead here in the second half. You want to run the football. You've got to just keep getting positive yards. You've got to keep the third downs manageable so you can stay on the field, bleed the clock. That's going to be the key for this offense and their team winning the game.
And the Spartans with a 2nd and short to keep this drive moving. Leaves it with the back. Powers through the defender.
This shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. If you've got the lead in the third quarter and you want to keep it, you got to bleed the clock. Best way to do that, run the football. And you're now seeing this offense call these run plays back to back. They are trying to be physical, and they're trying to stay on the field.
The Spartans have it with a 1st and goal. Trying to run it in. He's got it down to the 1-yard line right on the doorstep of Pater. Looking for just 1 more yard. It's 2nd and goal. Try to barge their way in. And the defense holds firm. No pickup at all on that play.
Well, and you see the sense of urgency now going up, right, David, on defense here, creating a negative play with their backs up against the wall.
Everybody's selling out to stop the run. Nice job being aggressive by this defense.
Heftiness coming out on the goal line. On 3rd and goal, they'll throw it. Using the back as a receiver on the screen. And that did not work. Defense smelled that one out from the beginning. And they'll send the field goal team back out for the 2nd time tonight. He'll boot it from the left side, and from this distance, that angle ought to be fairly easy. Not very pretty, highly effective using that carom off the left upright. And now the lead is extended a little further. And no chance at a return here. They'll start this drive at their own 25. They'll put this one in play. First snap of the drive from the 25. Looking to throw, it's Lindsey. Quickly to the tight end. They'll rip off 8 on that play. It's 2nd and 2. It's amazing how fluid and potent an offense can seem when you get a great pickup on first down, and the tight end's a terrific place to go.
Tight ends nowadays are kind of like cheat codes. I mean, they just know so much about, right here, seeing zone, know when to sit it down, boom, positive yards, nice positive play for this offense.
They'll run it out of the shotgun. He was running through tackles and picked up the first down and finally got knocked down.
This is a guy that can find you the hidden yardage. That play, he just pushes the pile to get that first down.
It's 1st and 10 from the 38-yard line. Looking to throw on first down. Under fire. Makes the grab. It's Tracy.
Wow, the quarterback knew he had to get that one to his receiver quickly on the in route. Did you see the velocity on that throw?
And the Golden Gophers in a good spot here with 2nd and short. A little misdirection and the handoff on the counter. He's stopped in the backfield again, and this just hasn't been his night. It's been more like a nightmare. Third down, and this offense is already in a world of trouble. They could really use a conversion, not to mention multiple scores. From the gun, wants to pass. And he was hit just as he released it, and it falls to the turf.
And we need more of this from this defense, man. They have let this guy have too much time to throw the football. They haven't gotten that jersey dirty yet, haven't sacked him. But this is just as good as a sack. Getting to him, hitting him, letting him feel the physicality of this game, and not letting him feel comfortable.
And the returner will be knocked down. In this drive from the 28-yard line. To the ground with the back. Collisions and power on display, and after all of that, just back to the line of scrimmage.
Well, this is a defense that we know takes tons of pride stopping the run. That's where it all starts and ends with them, and you saw a great effort on that last play.
They got nothing on the last play. It's 2nd and 10. Back to throw. It's Childs. Good timing on the quick out. Oh, spin move. Stopped at the 43 after the 15-yard pickup.
One of the things I love about the passing game we've seen on offense so far here is just how good the decisions have been by the quarterback. He's not being too greedy. When the shot plays have been there, he's taken them, and they've scored points because of that, but he just takes what the defense gives him, and you're just whittling away, and you're marching the ball down the field. Really good decisions by the QB.
The give to the back. Plows through the defense. And he was running with authority, especially with that stiff arm for a solid gain on the play.
Brings up 2nd down.
When you're dealing with a deficit like this, it's all about somebody stepping up to make a play, and you might as well start here in the 4th quarter. And a chance to mull things over, and let's see how they start the final period here on 2nd down. Wants to go up top. Pressure coming. Nowhere to go with the ball, and down he goes at the 39.
Well, you got to give this defense credit. They have hemmed him in all game. There has been nothing for this guy running the ball, whether it's been designed QB runs or on scrambles, and a nice job there with great effort. Taking the angles away, they're able to hone in on him and get him down for a massive loss on that sack.
Now a lot of work to do to move the chains, keep this drive alive after that earlier sack. Oh, they're after him. Has no choice but to throw it away, and it'll bring up 4th down.
3rd and long situations are really hard to convert. The defense knows it's going to be passed. The pass rushers are getting upfield. You're under pressure. You don't have timing. And as a result now, 4th down.
The accuracy is perfect. The loft, the aim, like the perfect golf shot. Order of business, get out of this hole as the drive starts at their own 7-yard line. The give to the left. They needed that extra space as he bangs his way to the 14.
You want to make play calling easy for an offensive coordinator? Run the ball like that every play. I mean, when you can run that on 1st down and set up a short yardage on 2nd down, it makes play calling easy. Every single call on that sheet is available here on 2nd down.
it's complete. Dragged down, but they'll move the sticks for a first down.
And this offense is going to have to come up clutch, man. Like late in the football game, you are trailing. This is why you get paid the big bucks. This is why the quarterback is the glamour position. Like, you've got to trust him. He's got to come through. They got to put a few drives together here to get back in this football game.
Now from their own 20-yard line, it's 1st and 10. Leaves it with the running back. He gets nothing, and they're staying stubborn with this running game, but at some point you're going to have to change your thought process.
Yeah, and this offense has to find a way to run the football. They got to get more creative, but whatever that looks like for this offense, something to jumpstart them, because nothing really going on the ground.
Yeah, defensively, though, you got to give them credit, too, because they knew that physically they were going to try to be challenged up front. That was a big MO for this offense coming into it. But the defense, they've risen to the occasion. Their front seven has dominated this entire game.
You got to like this defense, man. All game long, great job tackling the football. Like, you throw it on the perimeter, they're coming up. They're not giving the run after the catch to these receivers. A lot of times you see so much damage done after the catch. This defense has been dialed in, and the big play has been a non-issue.
Looking for a man. It's Lindsey. Quickly out to the tight end. He's going to come up a couple of yards short of the first down.
This offense has their work cut out for them, man, because the coverage has been so tight. And if you're not throwing to the sideline or you're not getting past the sticks, this defense is going to tackle you inbounds like they just did on that last play and bleed the clock.
Down by multiple possessions, they can't come up empty on this drive in the fourth quarter. They'll go for it on 4th down. Complete out of the backfield. He will not get it. A 4th down stop for this defense as they try to salt this one away.
Will be a turnover on downs.
The Spartans have it back on offense, hoping to play some good ball. You get field position like this, and you're not likely to punt the way they did the last time they had the ball.
Yeah, great job by the defense setting them up in the...
There he goes! And he's brought down after a nice game.
This offense is not letting up, guys. They've got a lead here late, and they are still taking shots. They're still looking for explosive plays. This defense just has not had an answer here all game long.
Down to the 16-yard line, it's 1st and 10. Wants to throw on 1st down. And the physical play there forces the incompletion on 1st down. Behind the chains now on 2nd and long. Looking to fire. Quickly to the flat, the wide receiver screen. And he'll run it into the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan State. The offense did exactly what it needed to do, getting the ball in field position like that.
It's that killer mentality. You step on their throat, you keep your foot down. When you get opportunities like that, they are golden chances to put touchdowns on the board. The offense took care of business.
31, Minnesota, 14.
And he'll just take a knee, and this drive will start at the 25. The drive starts from their own 25-yard line.
Rita! 42, Spider!
Pulled it, finds his man on the left. And he was fortunate not to lose yardage on that play, able to wedge it back to the line of scrimmage.
Offenses want to get the ball to their playmakers really fast, and they try to throw the wide receiver screen, but how about the defender? He was right there in his space, got him on the ground as soon as he caught it. He was ready for that play.
They're dealing with a 2nd and long. To the air, it's Lindsey. Oh, he's going to take a shot at the DB. Oh, he dropped it. That deep ball was right on the money. You just have to make that catch.
And this is a tough spot for the QB, man. Like, he knows he's down big and has to make big plays down the field, but also got to be smart because this defense, you can tell, bringing in extra bodies, playing the pass, maybe take the dink and dunk, let your guys make some plays because they are definitely playing the deep ball.
The short hands, it's Tracy. They'll make the stop about 3 yards short of the first down.
And this offense just hasn't found a way to kind of open it up. Like, they haven't found those explosive plays. It feels like the defense is kind of strangling them and staying really close to the line of scrimmage because of their lack of their big play ability over the top. This offense has to dial something up.
On fourth down, they'll throw for it. Grab near the marker, it's Tracy. And they'll spot it at the 38, and that'll be plenty for the first down. The metrics tell you so often, go ahead, go for it on fourth down, and it pays off there.
And that just shows you the head coach's confidence in his quarterback to go out on a critical fourth down.
It's picked off, and they ruin the drive with a turnover. The return never really got started, but boy, he has set his team up at the 28.
This is a beautiful situation for the defense. When you're up by 2+ scores and you're in this situation, you know exactly what is coming. It's going to be a pass. They have to because the clock is their enemy. Great job playing pass, forcing the interception, almost putting the nail in the coffin.
He's going to lose a yard on that one.
Phenomenal job by the defense that time, shutting down the option play. They knew they were going to see this in this game, and all week long in practice, they really focused on this assignment football, making sure the dive, the quarterback, the pitch, all taken away. Nowhere to go with the football that time offensively. The defense coming up with a huge negative play.
Makes a connection. Turning it on. Touchdown, Sparty. And the beatdown has ensued.
Yeah, salt enter wound, right? Late in the fourth quarter, you can run the football, run this game out. No, sir. I'm going to continue to pad my stats, find my receiver out wide, and give me another touchdown.
And he puts through the extra point. Kickoff unit on the field, and this defense will be called on to protect this lead. The ball bounces through the end zone, and it will be a touchback. They'll put this one in play. First snap of the drive from the 25. Back to throw, it's Lindsey. Unloads to the wideout. Complete downfield. Out to the 36-yard line after gaining 10 on that one. The Golden Gophers are in the hurry-up. Looking downfield on first down. Got a man. It's Tracy. He'll get it out to the 43-yard line. That's where they mark him out of bounds, and this offense is starting to do a little work.
Hey, listen, on offense, just take what the defense gives you. Quarterback looks out wide. He sees the DB way off of the receiver. Throw him the easy hitch pass. You'll take that completion.
Back to pass on second down. Fakes to grab. He'll be tackled at the 49 after a pickup of 5. Clock stops, and we've reached the 2-minute timeout. This offense looking for anything to cut into this big lead. Finally, some signs of life from this offense, which has done nothing in the second half. It's 1st and 10. Wants to throw again. Here's a heat. Can't find a man, and he'll be knocked down at the 40.
Well, when the offense goes empty, that triggers the defense to want to blitz. The linebacker came that time. They couldn't get him blocked, and down goes the QB.
Second down, they'll go to the air. Pocket breaking down. And he throws another interception, his 3rd of the night.
take over.
And I love this defense understanding situational football. You got the lead in the fourth quarter, getting your nickel packages. You know the pass is coming, and the execution was great.
Yeah, they thrive on takeaways, and they love to get into games late with the lead because one of the strengths of their entire team is their secondary, and you saw it there. In nickel, they're able to come away with the pick, and it's looking like they're going to be able to seal this game.
Don't want to risk anything here. The quarterback takes a knee. Working well behind the sticks on second down. Quarterback's just going to take a knee. Their work here is virtually done. No need to take any more chances. They'll line up in victory formation. The quarterback takes a knee. A strong, methodical, workmanlike effort from this team. No frills, just get the job done and get the win.
I love when you describe my teams like that. Just consistent, methodical, strong. I don't have to do things special every single week. All I'm supposed to do is get the W, and that's what they did.
And this is why practice is so important, guys. You can tell that this team was locked in way back earlier in the week. They watched the film. They got good looks in practice. They knew what to anticipate. They knew what looks they were going to see. And when those looks presented themselves, boy, oh boy, did they ever take advantage.
Thanks so much for spending some time with us. For David Pollack and Jesse Palmer, I'm Reese Davis, and this has been another presentation of EA Sports College Football.